Hey everyone, and welcome back to Media Madness. I'm Natalie with the Daily Caller. Today, we're taking a look at Scott Jennings, who goes on a CNN panel with a Democrat who is desperately trying to defend Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic socialist running for mayor of New York City, who just became the Democratic nominee for the race. So let's take a look.
You are a self-described Democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country. And I look forward to work with everyone, including billionaires, to make a city that is fairer for all of them.
That was New York City Democratic mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani, the 33-year-old self-proclaimed Democratic socialist success. This week, shaking up Democratic politics, not just in New York City. I'm bringing our panel back, Maria Cardona, Scott Jennings. Maria, I want to start with you because, look, we've heard from...
So before we get into Maria's defense of Zohran, what really strikes me about that clip is that Zohran's conflating equality with justice. Now, these are two distinct concepts, and equality of outcome is a very far cry from justice, particularly when imposed by the state. We've all seen examples of how that's played out historically. But let's hear what Maria has to say.
Even folks like House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, for example, holding off on any endorsement just yet, essentially saying he wants to know more. But what are your thoughts on Democrats, some Democrats' hesitation with Mamdani? Do you have any concerns?
I don't have any concerns, and here's why. Because I think what Democrats need to take from this massive earthquake of what just happened in our politics is the tactics and the approach that Mamdani used. He focused on the number one issue for New Yorkers. And frankly, it's the number one issue for people across this country, going back to our last discussion, which is affordability. The cost of living for people in New York has gotten impossible. And what Mamdani did was he focused on that like a laser. And he talked about how he is going to help bring down costs so that New Yorkers who love New York can actually live in New York, can raise a family in New York, and can get ahead in New York, which is not happening at the moment. And clearly that message was something that inspired so many. And so Democrats need to take the tactics that he used. He's young, he's dynamic, he is blunt, he went everywhere, he talked to everyone. Frankly, he kind of took a page from the Trump playbook, right? He didn't back down from any kind of discussion. He went on every show. He talked about every single difficult question that was posed to him. And he talked about how what he wanted at the end of the day was to make life affordable for people in New York. So Democrats can take those tactics, focus on their own politics, which won't be the same issues as Mamdani necessarily, especially if you live in a swing district, but use those tactics, talk to your voters, be open and be authentic. That is clearly the key message here.
So, Maria says that Mamdani really focused on economics, focused on the cost of living. As it turns out, people love it when you promise them free stuff. So this is sort of an unsurprising result. One of Zohran's proposals is to freeze the rent. These sorts of proposals, of course, are going to be popular for people who don't want to pay more. That's reasonable. Maria also says that the key to Zohran's success was his authenticity. Now, my question is, which version of Zohran? Democrats will call it code switching, but Zohran's fluctuations and accent are a little bit more than that, to my mind. Now, you can see Scott's face as Maria's talking, and he is just ready to pounce. So let's get into that.
And Scott, on that point, I mean, even folks like Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene have emphasized they don't agree with Mamdani here, but they appreciated him talking about the economy and the way he connected with voters. And my question, I guess, for you is, you heard at the top of the segment, Mamdani told NBC he doesn't think there should be billionaires. Despite any authenticity, do you think that kind of messaging hurts Democrats nationally as you strategize on the Republican side? Democrats, by the way, who are still, in many cases, trying to pick up the pieces after 2024.
Yeah, if I were Maria, I'd want to talk about tactics, too, because to talk about this guy's record and his ideas would absolutely sink the Democratic Party. I mean, on the one hand, he says, I don't think there should be billionaires. And then 10 seconds later, he says, but I want to work with them to make sure there's, equality across the city. Working with them is a euphemism for taxing them into oblivion. That's number one. Number two, he's also said he wants to tax people based on their race, which is one of the most radical things I've ever heard. Number three, he says he wants to defund the New York Police Department. Number four, I think he wants to empty the jails of violent criminals. If you want to destroy New York City, this is the person you would elect. Interestingly, in the post-election primary voting analysis, it was these rich white liberals that supported Mamdani. The working class supported other people, but it was these, rich white liberals in New York City that supported this guy. Of course, they're the only ones that can afford to leave when he destroys the city. So I think as long as the Democrats are committed to this sort of radical socialism, hateful radical socialism that's designed to divide people and destroy families and destroy communities and destroy New York City. If I don't live in New York, I live in Kentucky. If they want to destroy their city, that's fine with me. Nationally, for the Democrats, it's a huge disaster.
And Maria,
Mamdani contradicts himself at every turn. And though the CNN host says that Mamdani is this fearless Democrat representative, he's yet to undergo real scrutiny in an interview. Scott is also correct about who came out and voted for Mamdani. You saw Mamdani win with Southeast Asians, which is fairly unsurprising. And you also saw that he was more popular with college-educated people and people who made $50K or more a year. Mamdani's proposals for New York City would totally ruin it. Now, some people have said that we should abandon the city or that it's time for New Yorkers to learn their lesson. But frankly, even if conditions get much worse, it's not likely that people who voted for Mamdani will connect the dots between their vote, his policies, and the ruinous outcomes for the place that they live.
Your response, yeah.
Yes, Scott's answer just now proves just how nervous Republicans are about Democrats taking the tactics that Mamdani used and then focusing
I'm not
on the
nervous.
number one
I live in Prospect, Kentucky. I'll be fine.
Which is affordability, and using those tactics, Omar, to make Republicans pay for the massive, huge, gross bill that they are about to pass that screws working class voters and puts all of that money into the pockets of billionaires. If Democrats across the country, no matter where you run, no matter what district you are in, if you take that message about how Republicans are choosing wealth over your health, and they do it on social media, on podcasts, on YouTube channels, on CNN, on the radio, everywhere, in town halls, if they walk their districts the way Mamdani walked Manhattan, and they focus on that message, they are going to win. And Republicans should be nervous.
I got to leave it there.
Nobody's going to be able to walk Manhattan after he defunds the New York City Police Department, Maria. I wouldn't advise walking Manhattan after he gets rid of the police force.
Just to jump in, Mamdani. Just to jump in. Hold on, Mom.
Wise advice from Scott here. Even walking around New York these days is a dangerous venture. I can say that I've been screamed at plenty of times there, but certainly under Mamdani's leadership, I would not want to set foot in the city.
Mamdani advocated for defunding NYPD in 2020. He's since said his goal is reform, not defunding.
Exactly.
And then also just
you guys are doing that again. It's the old Harris playbook. Just
one more thing. Point of order. He just said he didn't want to tax white people specifically, just higher income neighborhoods that do happen to be majority white.
He literally wrote it in his statement, Omar. He literally wrote it down. Are you letting him get also
white? No, I am saying
desperation
that he said that, but not on the basis of race specifically. I'm not saying he didn't say that.
That's right.
He did say that,
okay,
but not
I
on
think
the
you need to
basis
reread
of
it.
race specifically.
So for those of you that aren't aware, there is a proposal which, as of last Friday, which is the last time I checked, was still linked to on Mamdani's website, which said that in order to achieve some sort of equitable housing outcome, we need to tax wealthier and whiter neighborhoods. That was explicitly said. So what it certainly appears to look like is a money redistribution scheme from white people towards others in the city. Well, the winner of that debate was pretty clear to me, but what do you think? Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Give this video a like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.